Today, I'm with Adam. She's a master pottery making. It'll only take her 18 months. Adam, nice to meet you again.
Hello, nice to meet you.
So tell me your story.
I started pottery a year and a half ago, and I loved it, but my cupboards were too full. So I started giving all of my pottery away, and people would say, oh, you should sell it. I didn't feel confident enough, actually. I wasn't going to sell my pottery at all. I thought maybe next year I'll try it, but my husband kind of pushed me to sell my pottery this year. I was so nervous. I was sweating it. I started doing markets this July. It's now December, right? So I started doing markets this July, and it went really well. I paid for all of the stuff for my booth, not the pottery. I don't make money on the pottery side, but I paid for all the stuff for my booth in my first market, and that was a great success, and it was really exciting. I found some really interesting things about my pottery. And so pottery is a very unique form of art, and there's a light in the way. Pottery is a very unique form of art, and even though it's pottery and everybody works with the same mediums, meaning essentially mud, clay, glaze, and the kiln, it turns out so unique and so different for every person. And so it's really fun when you can see like my pieces next to somebody else's pieces, and I can tell my pieces, and everybody can tell my pieces from their pieces, and like you just feel so much soul in all the pieces. Anyways, I got distracted.
No, you're good.
You feel so much soul in all of the pieces, and I just make things that I enjoy, that I really love, and it's really fun.
So let's step back for a second. Pottery is tricky because I took a pottery class in college. Well, a ceramic class.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the same thing. So did you have a background in pottery? Did you take a class in college, high school? What's your knowledge base?
I wanted to take a class in college and in high school. I never did. I just wasn't able to get into the class because it's a pretty high in demand class. So I wasn't able to take a class, and then I finally was at the point where I could financially pay for classes, and I got hurt, and so it took me another year before I was able to finally sign up for classes. And I started at a local community studio. They had some courses, and I started taking it. I was so bad in the beginning, genuinely so awful. On my third day, just cried as I drove home in my car, and then in the 20-minute drive home, and then in the shower as I was washing all the clay off of my body. And I was like, I made a horrible mistake. This was the worst. But I kept pushing. I kept taking classes. I put in at least 13 hours a week. I do a lot of other stuff. I have my work, because this is just something that I do part-time. This is just for fun for me. And it doesn't pay the bills. But I put in a ton of practice and a ton of work, and like it started to pay off, and it's really exciting. And I hope that other people enjoy my pieces just as much as me. That's the hope, right?
That's great. So let's talk about how you ended up coming to craft show. I remember you say you were making them, and then your cupboard got too full. But a lot of people are afraid to go to a market because you put yourself out there for criticism. How did you overcome that?
It's really, really, really nerve-wracking, actually. So it's just having somebody help push me really helped. Again, pottery is a very personal thing, and it's very much a part of you, and it's your art. And so if you're putting it out for sale, it's like, oh no, what if people don't like my art? What if people don't like my style? What if people don't like me? Is kind of how I internalized it. And so it was pretty nerve-wracking. My husband encouraged me. Other friends encouraged me. Honestly, just sign up. Just do it. At the very least, if you look at a market fee for how much it costs to go to an event, and you have enough pieces, and you say, you know, if I didn't make any sales at all, it only costs X amount of money to sign up and do this and like be a part of it. And it's worth the experience. But also, you're not going to make zero sales. It's pretty unlikely if you're like passionate about your work and other people can see that. And that's something that I've learned. I've learned that as long as it's something that I've learned that the pieces that sell the best are the ones that I love the most and am most passionate about. It's not the pieces that you think are going to be the most appealing to everybody. It's really the things that make you stand out to you. And that's what's important. And that's what makes people love your work.
Sure, totally. You have so many pieces. Let me grab the pieces and show the audience.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful plate you have here.
Yep.
And how long does it take to make something like this?
So plates are tricky just because they're so wide. This one was a little over 14 inches when I made it. So when I threw it on the pottery wheel, it took me about 10, 20 minutes. It depends on how out of practice I am, but it can take anywhere from 5 to 10 to 30 minutes for me to make a piece. And then it has to dry. So because it's a plate and it's super wide, this actually took a whole month for it to dry enough for me to trim, just because I was being really, really careful. Because if you bend it at any point, you're going to have a wobbly, wonky piece. And I wanted it perfectly straight and perfectly round, as you can see. So I made it originally at 14 inches. And now it's measuring at just over 12 because there's a lot of water content in the clay. And as you know this because you took classes, and anybody who took classes knows this, but the clay can shrink anywhere from 10 to 20%. And once you start to get those bigger numbers, it's going to get really big for a clay shrinkage difference. And so you're like, oh, this is going to be so giant every time you make a piece. And then it's so small. And it depends on the different types of clay. These have a lot of structure to them. So they don't shrink as much. But I have some white frost porcelain pieces, and those shrink so much more than anything else. I have a mug that when I made it, it was about this big. I was like, it's going to be so big. It was like an 8-ounce mug when I made it, or when it was finally finished. It's kind of funny.
Crazy stuff. Let me put them back. Can we break them?
It's a lot sturdier than you think.
So I know a lot of vendors that homemade the items that, sometimes it can be very difficult for them to price it.
Oh, that's something I'm still struggling with.
Okay. Tell me your philosophy on pricing it.
So I price it at a point that I'm content, and I know I need to price my pieces higher. I'm a lot lower in comparison to a lot of my friends, but I price it with something in mind of, I don't do by the time it takes me, because it takes me a lot of time. I don't have any with me right now, but I have some nativities. And last year I made some shorter versions and they sold for $25 because it took me an hour. It wasn't too hard to make, but it still was very structural, and my time and my energy and efforts were worth that. But this year I made some so they were originally this big. I made some this year that were this big, and they had, size for tea lights, and I sold those for $40, but those sold the very first thing at my last market, and so fast. And I was like, oh no, maybe I should have priced them a little bit higher. And I just kind of go based on how they move, or even how much I'm okay selling it for. I have pretty low self-confidence. I'm working on it. Pottery markets are pretty good for getting your self-confidence boosted. But
so that's good stuff. I think sometimes vendors are afraid that people are just gonna not buy the product because people would get scared of the pricing.
yeah,
But I think sometimes vendors need to realize, if you are confident your product is good, you should just test it out and then adjust it accordingly.
There's some pieces that I had that I didn't think would sell at that price, or it's a really hard price to swallow. But I wasn't willing to let go of those pieces for any less, because I would rather have it in my cupboard than sell it for anything less than that.
Because you know the wall.
I know the worth to me, right?
Yeah.
I would rather have it in my cupboard than sell it at the price that maybe would be most mass appealing. But there's pieces that I take to multiple markets. I've had some pieces that I took to 5 markets and then I sold it last market or even last night. It just takes time and it takes the right person. And, you know, just because a piece isn't selling, it just means you haven't found the right person.
Totally. Let's talk about, what do you have place to put? You say you have your own kilns at home?
I don't have a kiln. I have a wheel at home.
Oh, you have a wheel at home?
Yeah, I fire at a community studio.
Okay, I was like, how do you have space?
I have essentially a 1-bedroom apartment, and I have a wheel at home, and I'm really, really careful about the dust because clay or pottery can get a little dangerous if you're not careful about cleaning, and especially it's in my house. But I have a storage unit that I keep all of my finished product in.
Okay.
And that's how I keep all of my market stuff, because that takes up the most space. And I'm pretty proud about my booth setup. That's one of the things that makes me happiest about my art is I love my art and it's beautiful, but it's really nice to present it in a way that I envisioned in my head.
Yeah.
And that just like makes it more appealing, and like it adds to, pottery is a very personal thing, and having it presented in the way that like is very true to me makes it more appealing to those that come into my booth, and they know more what to expect and the vibe.
What are some advice would you give to a first-time vendor that want to come to a market? What advice would you give to them?
It's not as hard as you think. Don't get in your head about it. It really isn't as hard as you think. There are some markets that you just need a table, and you can borrow a table, you can borrow a tablecloth. If you can, get some cash so then you can do anything, but also you can just sign up on different card payment apps. There's Venmo and different like cash apps. And then like you just need your phone and a table. That's really it at the very base. And you just got to do it. It's putting yourself out there, but it's worth it. It's really fun to get the interactions with people. I'm an introvert, but I love markets just because everybody there is with the same vibe, and they're happier, more like ready to talk about art and the effort that goes into making your pieces. Just do it. It's a lot easier than you think.
If someone is watching this and they want to support Adam, how do they find you? Do you have a website, Instagram?
I'm just a little baby potter. I am working on a website right now. I'm going to get started on Etsy and different things this winter. That's my goal. I haven't had an off season yet. My off season starts next weekend. So I'm going to get started on everything. But I have an Instagram. It's aspencer.pottery.
All right.
That's where you can find me.
Adam, it was nice chatting with you.
It's nice chatting with you.
Thank you.